Alrighty, what is quacking, everybody? So, Scarlet and Violet, it's been about 3 years, a little over 3 years since those games have come out. I've been interested in VGC, so I wanted to replay the games again because it's been a while. I played them on launch. Don't really remember too much besides some of the performance lag issues I had. It wasn't anything crazy. I was one of the lucky ones who didn't have any major glitches or huge performance issues. So there is that. Probably, maybe because I was playing on a new Switch at the time, but that's neither here nor there. But I forgot basically everything about the game. I was like, oh, it just exists. So I want to replay it, and on top of that, everyone's always like, "Oh, these new Pokemon games, they're not good. They have no heart. They have no soul. They're bad." Wah. And I'm like, "All right, well, let me play the newer Pokemon. Let me play it. I want to replay it. I forgot what it was." So that's what I did. I replayed the entire game and the DLC because I also didn't play the DLC. So the gameplay of everything, pretty solid. It was a solid gameplay experience. I do like how we just kind of can decide what our team is the entire playthrough now, which is exactly what I did. I wanted to make sure that my team was the most unique. I went on, I looked at the Pokedex, and I went, what Pokemon did I not use in my first playthrough? I made sure that was my criteria. I picked Pokemon I did not use my first playthrough, and I wanted something I could really enjoy and get behind that can cover all of my options. And that's what I did. I ran all over this map to get the Pokemon that I wanted. It was challenging for sure, especially trying to get a Flamingo. The amount of hoops I had to jump through to get a Flamingo. Keep in mind, this was all before I got a single badge, killed a single Titan, or beat a single star person. That was it. I had to jump through so many hoops to try and get a Flamingo, to try and get certain Pokemon, to make sure that my adventure was what I wanted it to be. And from a gameplay perspective, that was good. That was great. I love that section. They actually nailed it with it. The only thing that I do wish we could have had is maybe some Paradox Pokemon. I'll get into that a little bit more later with the story, but it would have been nice if I could have, grabbed some Paradox Pokemon. But I got the team that I wanted, and I managed to just, hustle my way through the game. No problem. It was fine. I enjoyed that. Also, another gameplay mechanic is they made the RPG aspects a lot easier in terms of getting items that you want to use for held items. I really didn't feel like, besides a couple of, the shop items that I would have had to grind for, or I just really wasn't going to get or anything. I was able to get almost every held item I wanted to customize my team. They really did do a good job at making sure that you can get the Pokemon you want, get some held items, and really just kind of tackle the game the way you want it to tackle the game. And that's something a lot of Pokemon games you can't really do. They have their own, linearness. Sword and Shield, you can kind of do to a degree, not so much though, because half the game's blocked off and you have to do some other stuff story-wise to get to the other half of the game. But, Scarlet and Violet, you just go for it. And then, obviously other Pokemon games, you follow the routes, and it's just like, oh, well, I want this Pokemon. Well, too bad, kid. You gotta wait till you beat the game. You gotta wait until you can get this Pokemon. So that's kind of the issue with older games is oh, I wanted a Salamence. Well, too bad you don't get a Salamence until you're at the very end of the game, which is understandable for the most part, but also in Scarlet and Violet, you can run into a Bagon in a cave before you get a single badge and catch it. So, do with that as you will. Graphically, the game, it's cute. It is what it is. The graphics don't really pop out. It seems like, they just did an easy modeling game system for everything. So it's cute. It's kind of stereotypical art style, nothing crazy or anything. There wasn't anything. I think the DLC had better visuals. I think they really, upped themselves with the DLC, and towards the end of the story there was some good visuals, but when you're just running through the game, it's just cute. It's a very vast open area. The one thing I will say about the game though is it did feel a bit empty. That's the feeling I got when running around, and I didn't like that feeling. I didn't like how the game, it was very vast. There was towns and stuff, but at the end of the day, it felt empty. That's just kind of the feeling I got, is it felt empty. Whereas other Pokemon games, when I'm playing through Gen 4 or Gen 5, the games are big. They don't feel empty though. I feel like the world is living and breathing, and maybe it's because how the routes are designed and stuff like that, but like in this game, like, yeah, there's trainers out there or whatever, there's trainers in the field and stuff, but and there's wild Pokemon as well, but I don't know, it just I got a sense of emptiness in a way in the game, which was very weird. I didn't like that. Music wise, it was okay. I think the music just kind of like fit the game. A lot of it's just kind of forgettable. It was just a nice, melodies in the background. The only songs that really hit to me these days is the Sword and Shield battle song when you're in the stadium and they're like, ah, like that. That one is memorable for me, but now no, there's no like song or tune that's really stuck in my head from the game, but I feel like the music really fit the game for the most part. Like it was serviceable. And one of the other things is Pokemon design. That is like something a lot of people rave about. They're like, oh, designs are uninspired. Blah, 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 blah. We literally had magnets in Gen 1. Shut up, Gen 1 babies. Anyways, Pokemon design was pretty solid. I think Ortho Worm looks pretty goofy and funny. It's just like a mech worm, basically. I think the most uninspired design, though, has to be Flamingo. Like, it's literally Flamingo. They didn't even try. It was... I don't know what they were... I don't know what they were doing, really. I really don't. I was like, man, you had, like, plenty of things to do. You could have, like, I like Flamingo. Flamingo's a good Pokemon, for sure. Like, it's a good, fighting, flying type. I enjoyed using it. I used it on my team. But it's just kind of like, Flamingo? Really? Like, that's it? Garganacl, the giant salt thing. I love that Pokemon. That is one that I got in my first playthrough. I remember that. So Garganacl, it was very nice. I also like the new region variants. Annihilape, very nice. Armarouge and Celerouge were pretty cool as well. Trying to get them, though, kind of a pain. It was a little bit of a pain to get them. But I did manage to get one for my team. It took a lot of effort. Again, I had to jump through lots of hoops to get that for sure. But overall, the designs, pretty nice. The starters were decent. I was excited for the Quaxly line for obvious reasons. But then I really didn't like its final evolution. It really did not. I'm one of those people who doesn't look at the evolutions of the starters. I just go with the base one, and I was just not impressed with Quaxly's final evolution. But while that one was underwhelming, Meowscarada and the Fire Crocodile, those were both pretty solid. I really like Reveroom's design as well. Palfin's just kind of like a very happy dolphin, so there's that. But for the most part, the designs are pretty tame. They're decent designs. There's nothing over the top. Wasn't really anything that was too crazy. I think they put a lot of their efforts into the Paradox Pokemon. Paradox Pokemon were pretty solid. I like the Paradox Pokemon designs, especially Sandy Shocks. That is just a comical design. Goldango is also very nice, and the four sealed legendaries, Chi-Yu, Ting-Lu, Chen-Pao, Wo-Chen, those ones, very nice. I like those designs as well. And King Gambit for sure was definitely up there. When I saw Bisharp had another evolution, I instantly was like, that's mine. That's mine. Got that in my first playthrough as well. But also the Pokedex is a very nice mix between a bunch of the different generations. You have Gen 7 Pokemon, you have some Gen 8, Gen 6. You have a good mix, Gen 5. So a lot of mixes of Pokemon. Very nice. Also Toedscruel and Toedscool's new regional forms, very, very nice. I like the evolution change where it's like, oh well, they were in water, now they're on the land, so they're ground grass now. So overall, the Pokemon designs weren't anything egregious. They weren't anything to be like, oh my god, like what are they doing? Ugh. Like it was overall pretty decent designs. Spidops was kind of funny with his arms and stuff as well. So it was serviceable. Like there's nothing to complain about. It was some decent Pokemon design for sure. Now for the biggest thing, the story. It was okay. It did the bare minimum for the most part. they tried doing the 3 separate storyline things, and I understand what they were going for, but it kind of hindered the game. It hindered the game a little bit because it's very jarring, because if you try and play the game based on the levels, like if you look at, the different levels of everything and you try to play the game that way, it's very hard to really sink into the story, because you're going from, oh, Team Star, wah, we're weird edgy kids who were bullied and now we're the bullies, wah, 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 wah. And then you go from that, and then you're like, oh, here's a giant crab and here's Arven's sobbing backstory, and then you go, oh, look, it's my rival, time to get the gym badges. The pacing is so back and forth with everything, and I don't like that. It's very bad and fragmented. If you play them all at the same time, or like not the same time, but like one at a time, it's fine. Like nothing's throwing you off, but like as a casual player, not coming from the perspective of someone who, has been playing these games forever, you have all the strategies, all the different things in your head, whatever, like coming up with cool strategies. But as a casual player, as like, a kid playing the game for the first time, all these different things, the level spike is absolutely like just crazy, because I remember doing this for my first playthrough. I was like, oh, the different levels are spiking up, like let me see how it is. So I just kept trying to rush the gyms, and then by the time I got to the 4th gym, I'm like 10 to 15 levels below, and I'm like having to like come up with strategies on the fly to beat the gym leader. I'm like, bro, there's no like 10-year-old doing this. Like, they need a fully developed frontal lobe to do this. Oh my god. So like the way they presented the story, I understand what they wanted to do. Absolutely abysmal execution. It was just absolutely terrible. The stories were just so fragmented. It was so awkward. That didn't need to happen. And then on top of that, basically Arven's story is kind of the main story, because once you clear all 3 stories, you beat the Elite Four, you finish all the Titans, and you beat Penny, you go into Area Zero, and that should have been the main story. The fact that the whole Area Zero stuff is just like at the very end, where it's just like a conclusion with Arven, basically, that should have just been the whole story. They could have reworked the whole story instead of it being this weird, fragmented mid mess. Because for the most part, the gameplay and everything else in this game carries it hard. The story is mediocre at best, but you can still have a good time with this game if you just care about Pokemon and what they look like, and you're not a story person. Coast through this game. This game is great for you. You just do a little bit of research, change how you want to play the game. You can coast through this game. That carries the game for the most part. That's why it was mostly enjoyable for me to still play the story and like go through the game, even though I've already played it before and it's not the greatest. Like, I was more focused on the gameplay and still like, trying to read the story and, go through it and everything. But it's just kind of like they could have did a lot better. They could have been like, and like I said, I brought up earlier, I wish we could have caught Paradox Pokemon. I think that would have been a great way to tie it into the story, or at least like add something to the game and focus on the fact that there's these weird Paradox Pokemon and that there's something going on in Area Zero with the professor, where it's just like, oh my god, like they could have been like, oh, we're detecting these anomalies. Instead of the Titan Pokemon just being really obscure giant Pokemon, it could have been Paradox Pokemon that maybe you can't catch, but you at least see them and they exist. And then the whole game, you're like, wow, it'd be cool if I could catch them at the end. That'd be great to fill out the decks or whatever. And then you go into Area Zero and like, whoa, there's all the Paradox Pokemon, I can catch them. Like, that would have been great if that was the story, where it's just like, you start off, you do the gyms or whatever, and then like something like one of the Paradox Pokemon attacks the academy, and you're just like, whoa, okay, maybe that's just a one-off, and you go around the gym and the professor like calls you, and they're just like, oh my god, there's a Paradox Pokemon like at this town or whatever, and you have to go through. And then Team Star could have actually been something useful, where they're trying to like use these Paradox Pokemon or whatever to kind of like control the land or whatever. And like, they try and do that, something with the Paradox Pokemon to take over the land, and you stop them and you get all your 8 gym badges. And then, the professor's like, oh, come to Area Zero to like stop anybody else from trying to get the Paradox Pokemon. That's when you go down and do all the Area Zero stuff. That would have been a perfect story. That would have been engaging. That would have been great. But instead, we got a fragmented mess of a story, and it was whatever. But to be fair, the Pokemon Company really only cares about VGC in the first place. They are branching out with stuff like Legends Arceus, which I have not finished. My first impressions of it currently in this video are, it's okay. I'm enjoying it. It's nice. But besides that, you know, the DLC is next. So after you beat the main story, you know, you go into the DLC. And the DLC is just you on a field trip and you make some new friends. The DLC is such a great story. Like, it's not top tier by any means, but it is such a step up from the base game. It was so good. I really enjoyed the DLC story. I really enjoyed the dynamic of Kieran and Carmen. Just that whole thing. I liked their personalities. Their personalities really popped out for me. And the first DLC, Teal Mask, it was so nice. Having that little festival moment was so cute. It was so good. And the festival minigame as well. Like, just all of it was... It hit me with some kind of nostalgia of, like, school trips and going to the county fair and, like, all these different things when I was younger and just having fun with friends. Like, that's what the DLC hit me with. And it was just a good execution. And there was some drama thrown in there where you just turn Kieran into a villain because you lie to him about seeing the new legendary Ogerpon, which Ogerpon, one of my new favorite legendaries. It's very hard these days for me to find, like, new favorite Pokemon. Like, the last one that was, like, my big, like, this is my favorite thing was Zekrom. And now Ogerpon, like, I'm playing some VGC just, you know, casually. Ogerpon's always on my team. If Ogerpon's legal in the format, Ogerpon's on my team. I love Ogerpon. It's so cute. It's such a nice Pokemon. I like the niche interactions with it, with the 4 different masks and how you can change how it fights. Just such a good legendary Pokemon. But outside of that, you know, you have the Kieran, Carmen, you know, villain arc or whatever. And that's cool. I like that. I like the little drama, the little school drama. Kieran is just, like, upset. He wants to beat you. To be fair, all of this was preventable if we just didn't lie to him, but it is what it is. And then also the 3 other legendaries, Munkidori, and the other 2, Pheasantipity, and I forgot the other one, Dogecoin, whatever the dog one was. Like, going through all that, Teal Mask was a nice little easy couple hour story. Really enjoyed it. It was so cute, you know. And then the ending, it obviously leaves you on that cliffhanger. Kieran's on his villain arc, you know. Carmen goes back to Blueberry Academy. They all go back to Blueberry Academy. And then you have the side quest. I didn't get to do it. I know that you have to go take pictures and get Blood Moon Ursaluna. That's cool. Whatever. I didn't do that one. I didn't bother filling out the decks. I'll probably do that at some point. But outside of that, the regular DLC, Teal Mask, solid. And then Blueberry Academy, even better. Even better. Blueberry Academy was just a nice cherry on top to the Carmen Kieran storyline. You basically just get to be the exchange student at Blueberry Academy, and you just go through and you meet all of the new characters from the Blueberry Academy DLC. The principal of Blueberry Academy is kind of an oddball, but it is what it is. But basically, you run into Carmen again, and she's like, oh, Kieran's different. And you're like, what do you mean Kieran's different? And dude's on his villain arc telling some kid he's going to write his resign letter for him. Like, that was crazy to me. I'm like, whoa. All right, dude. To be fair, they could have given your character a little bit more better dialogue for the most part, because your character's like, Kieran's my friend. He's my friend. I'm still here for him and stuff like that. But overall, like, it was like you were in a high school slice of life drama anime with Pokemon. Like, it was really solid overall. Just going through the Blueberry Academy, hearing how all of the Blueberry Elite Four members talk about Kieran, and they're like, oh, like, you need to, like, stop him and set him straight or whatever. You know, his sister also like, hey, can you, like, fix my brother as well? Like, you need to beat him and stop him. That was great. And also the fact that they added double battles to the entirety of the Blueberry Academy arc was so nice. Oh my god, finally, double battles. I've been waiting for double battles in a mainline game since Pokemon Colosseum and XD Gale of Darkness. Like, oh my god, The fact that we got double battles was huge, and I think they just need to have double battles for the entirety of the rest of the mainline games. Just give us double battles, please. That is the main competitive format. It is going to be the easiest way to help newer players. If you want people to play competitive, transfers them into competitive, and it also opens up so much more RPG aspects. It opens up the team RPG aspects in so many ways because of the double battle combos. Like when you play a regular RPG, like Persona for example, one of my favorite things in Persona 3 Reload is using Akihiko's Theurgy after I boost him with some boosting stuff to boost his passive, and then use Yukari's Theurgy as well to boost everybody's stats as well. And then Akihiko just blows everything up with his Theurgy. It's so good. Let me do something like that. Let me do team combos, please. Like, if they just leave double battles in, it'd be so nice. I understand single battles because of the anime, and also like it's kind of less intimidating. And also when you start the game off, you know, you only get one starter Pokemon, but maybe they could, you know, add 6 starter Pokemon. We can, you know, pick different ones, something like that. That would be cool. That'd be different. I think that would be a nice game-changing formula if, you know, they were like, here's a bunch of Pokemon. Go capture 2. Have fun with it. Something similar to like Legends Arceus at the beginning where you capture all 3 of the starters. Do something like that where we just run around and capture the starter Pokemons at the beginning. But anyways, gameplay stuff aside, the Blueberry Academy story was just so good. It was the stakes were there. The stakes were like, you need to beat Kieran to bring him back. Like, you need to like set this dude straight. You need to assert your power over him. And that's what you do. Blueberry Academy was a very hard-fought battle. I liked the Elite Four challenges, especially the Dragon Challenge. As much as I hated it, I think it was a very good challenge because you had to go out and recapture a whole new team. You had to get a whole new team for that entire gym challenge, so you can't use your level 100 Pokemon. Also, the little quiz challenge as well. That was cool, testing your Pokemon knowledge. The flying minigame as well was nice. And making the different sandwiches and doing the trading sequence puzzle, kind of like an escape room in a type of way for Crispin. Very nice. All of it was just very good. And then your climactic battle with Kieran as well was a nice cherry on top. And then you go get the true ending of the game, where again, if they had a better main story, this would have been great. But at the end of the Blueberry Academy, you have the champion and one of the Elite Four members come back and they're like, oh, you went to Area Zero without our permission, blah, 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 blah. But then you go back in Area Zero with one of the teachers from Blueberry Academy and discover Terapagos, and Kieran's still like trying to, you know, figure himself out or whatever, and you do the whole Terapagos fight and capture Terapagos, and then you get a book. And once you get that book, you go back to the lake at the Teal Mask DLC, and you end up meeting the professor, and this is what causes the paradox, because you give the professor the book that they shouldn't have, and that's all the research and stuff, and that's what causes the events of the start of the game. So you just create a paradox. That would have been it was a nice ending. I really did enjoy talking to the professor, especially because like when you're talking to the professor, like, you know, the professor's dead. Like, you know, they say that at the beginning of, at the end of the story, they're like, oh, the professor's dead. Like, you find out the professor's dead, like all these different things. It's like really crazy. And like the Area Zero part at the end of the main game, great. DLC, great. This ending, great. It is everything before that you spend like 5 to 6 hours doing for the main story that needed to change drastically, which that's very unfortunate. That basically how they tried to execute the game was very poor for the most part. It dragged the experience down for a lot of people, and to be fair, I understand people saying, oh, games aren't the same, they don't have heart and soul. I don't think that's the case. I think the core gameplay and everything, and how this game allows you to tackle the game, very much an improvement on the series. Story-wise, not the greatest until the very end, or you play the DLC. I don't think we're ever going to get a fantastic story like Gen 5 or even Gen 4 or 3 ever again. I think those days are well behind us. I don't think we're going to get anything remotely close to a Pokemon Coliseum story in the mainline games. I think the mainline games are just going to be bread and butter. This is what the story is. We're going to keep it like a very nice niche anime. I don't think we're going to see some exponential villains. I don't think we're going to see anything crazy. I think we've definitely moved on from that. It would be nice if we got that back, but I don't think that's going to happen. But overall, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, they're okay. They're okay games. They have very high highs and very low lows, but the gameplay is solid. The way you can tackle the game is solid. And hopefully they take the Blueberry Academy stuff and bring it to the next game with double battles, and we have a more cohesive story that pays off dearly in the end. So that was Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. If you enjoyed, let me know. Thank you for listening to my ramble and review. I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe. Peace.